Hi, Banita Sandhu, right?
Hi, yes, how are you?
Good. It's so wonderful to see you. I saw the movie and I was just fascinated by your performance.
Oh, thank
It's very nostalgic for me because I am actually from Amritsar. I lived in Amritsar, and the
you.
a long time ago. So tell me about your role and how you got cast in this production and what you feel about it.
So whilst I was shooting October actually with Shujit, so he had mentioned he wanted to make a biopic on Udham Singh, and I was super excited for it as a Punjabi, but I never really saw myself fitting into the film, given that there's, kind of no real female lead in the movie.
Yeah.
Um, and he would always keep me updated with what was going on with the film, and I'd always be like, I'm so excited for it, good luck for the shoot. And then one day I was in Bulgaria actually shooting for an American TV show, and he called me and he was like, look, there's this role and I really want you to do it, will you? And I was just like, when can I start? Like I didn't really fathom that I could even be a part of it. So to be presented with that opportunity was really exciting for me, especially as a Punjabi as well. Like I just really wanted to be a part of this story.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And so your shooting took place in London or in Amritsar? Where was it? I couldn't really tell.
It was in Amritsar, because we shot, it was actually 2 years ago before the pandemic. So I flew out, I did all my training there for about a week before we started shooting, and then I shot, and it was a very culturally enriching experience. I had never actually been to Punjab before, and I'm fully Punjabi. Like all my grandparents are fully, Sikh Punjabi. My granddad was a Sardar as well. So it was weird to go to a place you've never been before and then yet feel so at home there. And I guess, is, going back to your roots, but it was a very magical moment in my life personally and professionally.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years back before the pandemic, I went to Punjab also to the Golden Temple and Jallianwala Bagh, and um,
Yeah.
looked at all that again. And at that time, I did not know that this movie was being made. I shopped. I got this full kari, and this necklace was given to me when I got married by somebody who was one of the premiers of the Golden Temple. So
Yeah.
I thought it would be appropriate to wear that today
Oh,
for
that's
your performance. It was very touching for me. I have visited Jallianwala Bagh as a child, and I've watched the movie Shaheed several times when I was growing up over there, and I wept and wept buckets of tears. But I did. Were you aware of this story when you were growing up in London? You were
yeah,
aware.
yeah, I was, and I think it was only because my dadima had mentioned it to me, and even I had told her now just before the film was released, like I have this film coming out on Udham Singh, and she was like, oh yes, and then she knew. So it's kind of, I was always given snippets throughout my childhood, but unfortunately in the education system in the UK we weren't really taught a line of colonial history, and I really hope this film changes that, because it is so intrinsic and integral to not just British history but world history and why we live in society we do nowadays. So that's why I was just really excited by this movie.
Yeah, we take so much for granted, and we don't understand that whatever we have today was is based on sacrifices of so many people, especially
Exactly.
like people like Udham Singh. Tell me about working with Vicky Kaushal, and how did you feel? I think he's done an incredible job. He's worked really hard, but how
Yeah.
did you feel interacting with him?
I mean, one word I remember saying after I shot with him and my friends asked was I actually felt a little intimidated when we were shooting together, because he's so talented. He really is a powerhouse in himself. And I knew I had to kind of like step up to the occasion, because I didn't want to let him down in the shots. As a person, he's so down to earth and chilled and lovely and gracious. So I remember actually when we were shooting, I think I came to set one day and he was doing the really hard scenes where he was picking up the bodies and putting them on the crate and moving them, and it was really arduous what he was doing on screen. And he would just come and then sit next to me and be like, hi Benita, so what's going on? And he's like covered in dirt and fake blood and like real dirt. Like he was fully, getting down to the grit of things. And And then one day he came to set, and it was when we were obviously shooting the massacre scene, and I was doing shots where I was, you know, kind of going onto the ground and being really, like, literally running for my life. And I was covered in 10% of what he was. And he was like, oh my God, do you want, like, are you okay? And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, this is nothing compared to what you've done. Like, anything he did on screen, I can say this for a fact, he made it look so effortless, but it is really, really difficult. And I think that's one of the qualities I admire so much about him.
Yeah, I think it felt as if he was immersed in it, and he was such a pensive character. So,
Yeah.
but, you know, your appearance and your role in the movie gave that softer element which the movie really needed. And
Yeah.
I wish that your role would have been longer, and in the flashbacks I could have seen more of you, because I really enjoyed interacting with your character. And I love that little tiffin box, you know, that petal tiffin box with a little kundi on top, and you guys are sharing some parathas, you know. I mean, it reminded me of my dadis and my great grandmothers and all, you know, and the taste of their rotis, you know. It was very, very sweet. Tell the viewers from India Current about the cinematography in London, especially. Tell us about Caxton Hall and the place where he was hanged.
I mean, unfortunately, I won't be able to tell you much about the cinematography in London because I only shot in India. But I do know Banita Sandhu, who did the cinematography of this film. He works with Sujit a lot. He did October with us as well. Is so talented, and like I already knew he was a great DOP, but seeing this film kind of come to life, he's really taken it up another level. And I think it's one of the strongest points of this movie, and it was, I think, probably one of the best cinematic pieces I've seen in Hindi cinema in a long time. And I can say that because, you know, my role is smaller, and I'm really speaking about the team who have been working on this project for, I'm not kidding, decades. And I think that hard work really shows in how well researched the project is. But every department in terms of costume, art direction, sound, you know, cinematography, performance, direction, writing, you know, it just, everyone was on their A game in this movie, and everyone really poured their heart and soul into it. And I think audiences are really reacting to that, and I'm so grateful for that.
It seems so real, you know. It really plunges you into that time period. And even though there's so much of back and forth, I am so happy that, you know, the beginning 30 minutes and the last 30 minutes are like bookends, and they tie everything together. And had he done it reverse, you know, the effect would have been lost. And he just wants you to linger in that moment. And I have a story to tell you. My grandfather actually was there because it was Baisakhi Mela. He was there, and luckily for him, he did not enter Jallianwala Bagh. He was a teenager at that time. They used to live in Lahore, and they used to frequently come. And I would not be who I am today if he would have been inside the Jallianwala Bagh. It was just hit and miss, like 10, 15 minutes before that he left, because they had blocked off the exit.
Yes.
So, I mean, it makes me feel so emotional about this thing. But, you know, people who lived in the South and people all over the world, they have no idea as to what happened there. And I'm so glad that this is being told on a world stage, because, I mean, it's just the arrogance, the stench of arrogance, you know, which percolates, is much more than the stench of all those lives lost. And that's something I'm so grateful that for Shujit and, you know, Vicky and you. I mean, you guys have done such an incredible job. I mean, everything ties together. And I think this is going to be one of my most favorite movies. And I hope that you can do more things like this, you know, because this history needs to be told.
Oh my God, sorry, I don't know why I'm getting
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you emotional, but it is what it is, you know. It is what it is. It's and the people over there are so lovely. You're right that they are so lovely, so welcoming, so innocent, and you know, and they are so friendly. And for that to happen to people like that, you know, and that also on Baisakhi, it just makes me so mad.
Yeah, but I think that's I think I'm so grateful that Shujitsa decided to tell this story, and I couldn't imagine it have being done in better hands than his. And the way he presented everything was so real and so authentic and so haunting and
Yeah.
traumatic, which is what it was essentially. And I think, you know, better late than never for sure, but I just wish people had been more educated about it a lot earlier in time, because the
Yeah.
only way you can learn from the mistakes of the past is by acknowledging them, yeah, and you know, learning about history. I think it's so important, and that's why I keep.
Something like this could happen again, you know, it could easily happen again if we take it for granted. I mean, it's not the end. I mean, we have to be aware of it, and we have to tell the story over and over again.
Yeah,
So
but it's just amazing. Like, you know, it being released on a streaming platform, we are able to reach so many more countries than we would had we had a theatrical release. So I do believe this is a very international film with an incredible potential for a strong international reach. And I hope that, you know, people take notice of it. And, you know, at the end, when they say that India is yet to receive an official apology from the British government, I hope that this film sparks a conversation about that in Parliament, because I think it's very important.
yes, yes, that's true. I think that's very true. And tell me, let's talk about something more lighthearted. Tell me about your upcoming movies and TV shows, and you know what you enjoy doing. I mean, what kind of genre you like.
I think I don't have a particular genre, but I just kind of connect with certain projects or stories or directors, and I just gravitate towards them. And I've just tended to follow my heart in terms of my career. And it took me to India, it took me to, you know, Europe and the US, and whatever I connect with, I do. But I do, in the last movie I just shot, I had a little encounter with like stuntsmen. And it kind of opened up this craving in me that I want to do an action movie next. So like,
Oh,
I don't, yeah, it's super random. I never thought it ever. I've always just done very kind of meaningful cinema, very authentic storylines. And that's, I think, where I feel most comfortable. But a part of me almost feels too comfortable in that space now. So I kind of want to like push myself into acquiring different talents and doing different kind of genres. So I would love to do an action movie. Yeah.
that would be wonderful. I'm sure you would rock in that. I mean, you've got such an expressive face, and I'm sure your body language is just wonderful. I mean, I can vouch for. I mean, I have to go back and watch that sequence over and over again, because it just reminds me of, you know, my cousins, you know, sharing a meal together, or my grandchild, you know, what the expressions on the face. I mean, they're so authentic. Do you have any siblings? I mean, you have siblings, because I could feel that you have interacted in that way with other people.
Yeah, like I have a little sister who honestly she's 4 years younger than me, but emotionally and spiritually, I think she's like 20 years older than me. So she kind of keeps me in check, and her and I have a really great relationship. So yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, I wish you all the best, and I'm sure India Currents viewers are going to really enjoy this interview. And thank you once again.
Thank
God bless.
you so much for sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.